Ah, there we go. We got this thing to fire up. Amazing. Got to check my sound. Hold on just a moment. Flip it over here and check my sound. Unless somebody's on here. Is anybody on here? No. No. No algorithm's doing me any favors right now. Wonder why. You know, the answers are simple, but it's so simple. It's incredibly complicated for people. Hold on, I gotta check my sound. We got sound. We are live on YouTube. All right, folks. I should be getting a phone call here in a moment. But look, I'm gonna break this down for you real simple like, and it's really not overly complicated, or you can make it as complicated as you want, and the more complicated the better for these people, because well, the gurus, they all want to make money off of you because it's so complicated, and you need instruction, and you need months, if not years, if not, maybe the rest of your life to try to figure out. Oh, you'll be dead by then. You'll have done been taken out, and of course, it's pretty obvious they're trying to kill us all. I mean, let's just stop trying to fool ourselves here. I've been well aware. I've been telling people, look, we're at war, and you don't even know it. And the casualties are not being announced on the mainstream news. Let's get into this here, and we'll see if this phone call comes in. You'll be able to take part in the conversation. Let me see if I can share screen this. No, wait a minute. Wrong button. Share screen. Here we go. Pop. And yeah, there we go. All right. If you do not know who Edward Mandel House is, well, you're going to now. Some of you may or may not have heard of who Edward Mandel House is. Why are we going back to Mandel House? Well, because there's this brilliant breakdown that was created by Ken Scott, different Ken Scott than Scott, but a Ken Scott nonetheless. Now, I've done this before, and YouTube burned the channels. I had 3 channels burned. I'm waiting for this one to be burned because it's more than you need to know. And that's, pardon me, really what it boils down to is it's more than you need to know, because, whoa, we can't have people knowing this. And when you combine it with the prima facie evidence of the legal names that were not created the day we were born, as we're being asked to provide our date of birth, commingle our date of birth with the file registration date, which is the correct date that the vessel in commerce, or the legal name, or the straw man, or the corporate fiction, or the organization name, call it like you will, but that's organization name is what the lawyers use under the bankruptcy. Why under the bankruptcy? Because the United States is under the Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and they're also under an emergency declared by Lincoln and declared ever since nonstop. Because of what? Because of the British Crown, the Vatican, London State, the money handlers, those making merchandise of men. The whole reason why the good Lord cracked a whip, why he sat down premeditatedly, made a whip of tassels, and went in and chased them out. Not to mention the fact that when the doves cry, I'll throw a little Prince in there for you. The doves are the babies. They're the little ones. They're the sons and the daughters. They're the ones suffering at the hands of those making merchandise of men and making merchandise of everyone. And it's very not, it's just not very complicated. You can complain about the symptoms, or you can get down to the Achilles heel and cripple this thing and end it. You know, this is pretty self-explanatory. Every American, I don't know how American you're feeling today, will be required. Well, if you're required to do something, it doesn't sound like you have much of a choice. That's slavery. I thought slavery was abolished. Maybe not. Required to register, like you have to register your car and you have to register the babies. Okay? Register their biological property in a national system. We want to go global. We want our new world disorder. And that's what this is all about. This is the 2030 agenda is to birth register everyone on the planet. That's what got my channels burned when I was sharing that the 2030 agenda was to birth register everyone on the planet. Here comes that real liar ID. I mean, real ID that everybody's up in arms about, and they should be. This one is going to be dedicated to Kash Patel, who I personally saw him do a video talking about the Federal Reserve and how we need to get rid of it. He should step very carefully, because anybody that's made mention of cutting off the Federal Reserve has ended in a bad way. And you know, I've got some thoughts about the idea of them now talking about ending the Fed, and hey, we're going to stop chemtrails, and hey, we're arresting people for spraying the skies. And you see, if they digitized the Treasury during the pandemic, which DeWine is the one that declared the emergency for the pandemic so they could commit the genocide with Fauci. And, you know, never to leave out Judy Merkovich, who was exposing Fauci like a long time ago. And she got her brakes beat off with a lawyer sitting next to her telling her how she needed to just do what they said, or they're just going to throw her in a cage. Because that's what they did to her. They threw her in a cage without charges because she was exposing what was going on. The same thing with the Crowley family making the movie Gray State. They killed him. Why'd they kill him? Because they were going to expose what was coming, the forced vaccinations, the genocide, the absolute mass murder that, you know, if you're not aware of by now, you must live under a rock, or you just are running in such a hopeless manner of ignorance that you may be beyond help. So, if you're required to register biological property, what is biological property? Well, you have people argue that that's the placenta and that's the cord, and or is that actually the baby? Oh, they're not pledging the baby. Yeah, they're pledging the baby. Because it's a system to keep track of what? The people. It doesn't say keep track of the placenta or the cord or any of that. And to be stealing body parts like they're doing in mass today, like organ harvesting and all of the sickness that we have going on, there should really be very strict actual laws about if you get caught being involved in that, you get hung by the lamppost for everybody to see. You take you down to the town square, and we're gonna noose you up, because there's nothing left to do with somebody that's that nefarious. That anyway. So by such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda. Who is our? Who is our? Who are the people that own the printing press? Who are the people that took out diesel, that created the diesel engine to run on plant fuels? Who are the people that loaded up all those standing against the central banks onto that certain ship that sunk? You know, we're going to take a ride on the Titanic. And right now, that's basically what we're doing, is arranging deck chairs on the Titanic, because we're going down so hard and so fast. It's really crazy. And, you know, and I don't want to get off on the Titanic, because it's got its own curves, which will affect our security. There's our again. I don't know who our is, but I'm giving you an idea. As a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Well, now we're getting down to brass tacks. It's the Federal Reserve. It's the people making the funny money. Every American, don't know how American you're feeling these days, will be forced to register. Whoa, wait a minute. Required, now we're being forced. If you're forced to do something, you are a slave. I thought slavery was abolished. Obviously not. It was just made more complicated. It was done in a way that they were able to take step by step by step by step to where we are today. And anyone that's going along with this is committing treason, up to all treason. And to continue to go along with it and think that it's okay, you're committing treason. You're committing treason and going along with making merchandise of men, making merchandise of your own family, your friends, and those that you say you love and care about. I'm just not going to be easy on you. So if you're forced to register, you're a slave, or you'll suffer being unable to work and earn a living. Now we're getting into the biblical stuff, the mark, because that name is a mark. That legal name is a mark. It's done in sign language. That all caps name is ASL according to Black's law. It's dog Latin. It's the Justinian deception. Thank you, Romley Stewart. Love you, brother. I hope you're doing good. They will be our chattel. That's not good. And we will hold security interest over them. Oh, forever. Wait a minute. This isn't like until the bankruptcy is completed. We're going to keep kicking the can down the road. In fact, if you take a look at the Trading with the Enemy Act under Title 50, which supposedly they just kind of brushed off stopping chemtrails and using Title 50 under the Trading with the Enemy Act. If you go watch the movie 22 Miles, you'll hear Title 50 be mentioned. It's very educating, action-packed movie. But man, if you're paying attention to what is being exposed in movies, that one's a humdinger. Let me tell you, because when I caught it, because I've watched the movie several times, it's sort of like the movie Gamer, because they have that technology. It's already in place. With Gerard Butler, it's getting real, people. And you know, if you were watching Julian Assange's last transmission before they disappeared him, he told everyone the nano stuff is sprayed. That technology, that's done. The whole world has been dusted. The question is, who's going to control the technology that interacts with the bio-digital convergence and the digital twin, and to be able to push a button and basically shut you down? Go watch the movie Gamer and ask yourself if that's what you want your sons and daughters' lives to be like, because that's where we're at. It's not where we're going. It's where we're at, if you ask me. They're just not playing that hand wide open. And there's the phone call. Mike?
Hey, Ken. How's it going?
Hey, man, we're live on YouTube, just so you know.
Oh.
I was,
hey.
Well, yeah, man, I thought I would fire it up so when you called, our conversation would not be wasted air between the two of us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And basically what I was doing is breaking down the Edward Mendel House, and the what is touted to be the private meeting with Woodrow Wilson, where basically he describes how the legal name system is going to work, where all Americans would be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people. It will operate under the ancient system of pledging, and by such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as a chargeback for our fiat paper currency. And I'm pointing out to people the key words in this. Every American will be forced. If you're forced to do something, wouldn't that make you a slave?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so forced to register or suffer being unable to work and earn a living. There's that biblical part of it. And that's kind of, we were just getting to, they will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever. This isn't a temporary thing while we get to the Chapter 11 bankruptcy of the United States, and by operation of the law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Because everything's about securities these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to point this part out. So, but man, what do you think about the file date now that you've been able to kind of digest it a little bit? I see you making some posts out there on Facebook, and basically the thumbnail for this is because Kash Patel, which I've seen the video personally, made a video talking about the Federal Reserve and how it's not government. And, he's no economic guru, but, something needs to be done. It's almost like Ron Paul.
Well, these guys, Ron Paul's a Mason, and a lot of people don't know that. So he's playing a part. But Kash Patel, I believe he's honest, but he's unknowledgeable on the actual facts. He has no clue that we need to convene a Continental Congress.
There you go. You keep bringing that up, and that's why I'm making this video, because somewhere in the mix, maybe it'll make it to him. Not that I didn't go on Truth Social and post Trump's birth certificate showing where he was born on the 14th of 1946 of April on the Gregorian calendar, of course, which has a whole nother level. But Jason Gibson and the law of time that we're working with, I really would like to introduce you to him. He's over in Nevada. He's worried about Doug. They're forcing Doug into medical. They're stealing his DNA right now, his blood.
Yeah. And
sadly, he is not doing a conditional acceptance. I tried to get word to him, but the man forgot to tell him. I'm like, man, that's, he need to conditionally accept. Yeah, you can have my blood. I need $100 million today. I'll be happy to give you my blood. But, being that he brought out, at least shared with me and pointed out the file date, that file registration date, which is the date of creation of that legal name. It is not our date of birth. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree with you, and it makes total sense now, because I've never fully understood the concept of commingling the titles, and I've heard your name thrown around for about 10 years, and what you told me about a week ago makes total sense now, and I get it. Yeah, that's when they created the straw man, and we're saying that we're the straw man, but we're given the date of birth, not the file date.
Right. Yeah, we're basically giving body to the dead fiction. We're giving our energy to the dead fiction. We're volunteering.
Yeah.
And right now, exposure and getting this thing. I mean, I would love to sit down with Donald Trump live in front of God and everyone and say, hey, man, why would you allow them to commingle your date of birth? In fact, it's on True Social for everybody to take a look at. I posted it under, he's paying for some flagpoles. And, why would you allow the lawyers to drag you through administrative tribunals, commingling your date of birth with a legal fiction, a legal person that wasn't created the day you were born? Why would you be involved in that?
Because he's trademarked his name and doesn't care, probably.
And I get this. All of these different things. We want to trademark. We're going to authenticate. We're going to create trust. We're going to do all of these things. But meanwhile, they're still trying to kill us all and killing many of us.
Yes.
So, this is where I look at the gurus. They bless your heart, Anna Von Ritz and David Jose and, David Straight, rest in peace. Bless your heart. But you see, David Straight wouldn't talk to me about the file date. this file date thing is just too much. Whoa, we can't be talking about that, and you get these people that, you can't be talking about the private and the public. I'm like, listen, we are way past the idea of not being able to talk about something. And when we can't talk about something, that tells me right there, we need to be talking about it.
Exactly. And what have we been conditioned to avoid our whole lives? Religion and politics.
Man, look, the file date is such strong prima facie evidence of, and see, we've had the correct date the entire time, but now look at the roadblocks that are being set up to stop us from moving forward and making the correction that we're not willingly volunteering our date of birth for something that wasn't created the day we were born.
And the Michigan Secretary of State has been ignoring me and shining me and keeping my documents for 3 years. And I've been sending them certified letters about this. I need you to address this issue with the file date.
There you go. There you go. Look, that I call this the legal name killer. And for the lawyers, how much malfeasance can be involved with the Bar Association not telling you shouldn't be giving your date of birth for the legal person, for that legal name.
Yeah, and that's why they play the game with us. Go get your LLC and register it and all that stuff.
Yeah, see, like I say, either you do business with the man or you don't do any business. And if we're going to operate in the corporate world, it's easy to make a Minnesota name. Every state you can create a DBA, but they still want to attach.
Why should we have to pay to correct a fraud?
That's right. Why should we have to? That's the same thing I told Anna Von Ritz. I said, Anna, you're bragging about how you got millions of people that have authenticated and blah, 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 and they're back on the land. I said, but who are you paying to do that?
No offense, but she's a traitor, and I don't really want to put any energy into her.
Well, no. I always use an example where it fits. And, I told her straight up, you're pumping wealth towards the same people that we're trying to get away from, that we don't want trying to control our lives. So you're enriching the very people that shouldn't even have a job under your governmental services. So don't think I'm going to put a lot of energy into it. And you're welcome to feel and express how you feel. That's what we're doing here.
In 2015, okay, so I was involved at the Bundy Ranch as the General Secretary of the Fourth Continental Congress and with the militias and all that stuff. And that's when she started getting involved with our conference calls because I was running Citizens Action Network. So in 2015, Stephen Gronka, who was the videographer for Larry Klayman, who was the Bundy's attorney and trying to get the common law grand jury stuff going, he was asking why I thought he was having failures with his work. And I told him, because you're an attorney, you don't have a concept of what the Constitution really is. So anyways, Steve Gronka asked me to host a conference call, and Anna Von Ritz called in, and she admitted on that call that she was in service to the Pope, and he's a Jesuit Pope.
Right.
And she told everybody what her position was then. And that was in 2015. Nobody knew who she was. So I've been around for as long as she has, even longer, and not many people know about me, but she's everywhere. So she's got a lot of backing.
Right. And look, there's one writing, if it's even her doing the writing, that very brief mention of how there's 2 dates, but no instructions on where to start with the correction, as Douglas has shared, straight up go to the credit bureaus and correct the date. And
but
then,
do you know why? Anna's not a real judge. She has Jennifer Goodwin Hall produce all her legal material.
I got you. Yeah, I think you mentioned that. That's why I was, I don't have evidence of that, and I'm not saying I don't believe you, but
Jennifer told me that herself.
I got you. Okay, so firsthand.
Yeah.
This is where.
Oh, can I plug my website since we're here?
Go ahead, man. Absolutely. Citizens Action Network, man.
transactionnetwork.info, and it's my webmaster owns the server. It's got unlimited bandwidth, and it's the place for patriots and activists to continue to network unmolested by all this bullshit that's coming at us.
Copy that. Copy that. You heard it here, people. Look, we're gonna stop playing games for real quick. Like, it's like I have expressed for many moons, and I was also networking with what was going on at the Malheur Refuge and with Emmett Bundy, and I've sent them information. I've never gotten Ammon to actually, hey, come on and let's have a conversation, Ammon. There's some things we need to talk about, but here's what I can tell you. Here's what I can share with everyone. When the news media showed up and Pete Santilli was running around, I was hitting
foment. Pete Santilli, yeah.
Yeah, I was hitting up Blaine Cooper. Who was
Blaine Cooper is the 16-time felon using an alias. His real name is Stanley Blaine Hicks.
Stanley Blaine Hicks, that's correct. So I'm hitting up Ammon. I'm hitting everybody on the ground, man, that I was connected with. All right. And telling them, carry a birth certificate out in front of that live feed and ask the world, what is this? What is this all about? And man, that's when, boom, they shut it down.
You won't have it because that was all scripted down there. I infiltrated that.
Copy that. Something didn't make sense, man. Something didn't seem right. I could never get Ammon to talk to me. Still can't get Ammon to talk to me to this day. And it's like, look, all you're doing is antagonizing people and not pointing out the cause. We can talk about the symptoms. We can moan and groan about the symptoms all day long. What's the cause? Who created these legal names? Hey, Kash, Patel. You want to get rid of the Federal Reserve? You get rid of the legal names. You get rid of them. And we do business as men. If we need to do corporate business, we can simply do corporate business. We truly don't need the state-created legal name. We don't need the District of Criminals, state subcorporations, vital statistics creating these fictions to bind us and bond us and put us under the scheme of secured transactions with this pledging of biological property. We certainly don't need American babies being kidnapped at these foundry hospitals to be forced to register, because that's what you have going on right now. Callie just had a baby. They got out of there without the birth certificate, but they're trying to get to her. They're trying to get to the baby. I don't think they don't care about her. They care about that baby being brought under bondage. It's the same thing for me, man. Neither one of my babies are pledged to the crown, and they didn't get their placenta, and they didn't get the cord. Can
I tell you something with where I'm at with my research? It involves the AI.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, so the war in southern India, the nuclear war 6,500 years ago, the Indians documented it on 84 copper tablets. They wrote it in Sanskrit, that the AI caused the nuclear war. And we're rebuilding it right now, and it could be linked to the Black Knight satellite. But so Sanskrit is the language of the AI. I found that out. And then adrenochrome is the, I guess what you would call the currency of the AI. So that's why this nation was created under the birth certificate fraud for the Luciferians, because they've funded it with adrenochrome basically, and that's why it's under our labor. But because I've always wondered, what the hell are they funding this with if there's nothing to back with? It's got to have some kind of value somewhere, and that's what it is. We all have adrenochrome.
Right. See, that's one of the questions I asked Anna Von Ritz, and I saved the comment. I did a screenshot of our little exchange there when I asked her. I said, what are you going to do about this adrenochrome deal? And her reply was, well, we'll have to create a synthetic adrenochrome. I'm like, whoa, no, that's not an answer. That's you got to be kidding me.
We need to convene a Continental Congress and restore free will to society, or we're fucking toast.
Yeah, that's what Sasha Stone was just in a video circulating, that, look, man, we got one law. It's do no harm.
Yeah.
One law. and that I can agree with. Always look for the good. I always look for what I can agree with. And anybody that's got maybe an even bigger reach than I do. According to Facebook, I've got such a big reach, I'm not allowed to change my phone number. So be it. But what we were going through here is real quick. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivering the bill certificate to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent, forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. Pledging what? The babies. No, it's the placenta. No, it's the cord. I'm telling people, look, according to this, it's to track the people. Oh, and now they want real IDs so they can do what? Track the people. Through what? Through legal names. Everything that they do to come at us is through those legal names. But they have to have you volunteering. And how are you volunteering? There's date of birth. Go ahead.
Do you know about the notice of non-decedent?
I've heard about it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not. Go ahead.
I have it. I'll send you a template next time I get on the computer. It's in a Word format. But so we're supposed to return the adhesion contracts to the IRS when we turn 18. And then when they return it to you, you take a front and back copy of the Social Security card and do the next step. And you send another package to the Treasury. And you're claiming the minor account. And that's what I've heard. So I've got a guy that's 88, and they're fucking with me. They have been for years. They won't return shit, and they're throwing away my stuff. But This guy, they return everything. So he's going to be the first guy that I'm applying for this. He's 88, dude.
Interesting.
So we'll know. I mean, at my rate of progress with my injury and everything, we'll probably have an answer on that by, I would say, August at the latest.
Gotcha.
What we're talking about with the black card and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's somebody was like, when I started coming out about this file date, they're like, man, they're going to bring you your black card. I said, well, they need to really hurry up. I said, but the reality is, for me, I look at all the people out here that don't really have a clue, but because I cannot turn my back on that. Oh yeah, give me my black card and I don't care. I'm going to go, I don't care about nobody else. I can't do that, because the reality of what's going on with these imposters that truly should be living up to the responsibility of their fiduciary relationship as trustees under the public charitable trust, under the Chapter 11 bankruptcy, like James Trafficant brought out. You know who James Trafficant is, right?
I've heard the name, but it doesn't ring. I mean, I don't know in the moment.
Yeah, he was the Ohio congressman that brought out the bankruptcy on the House floor, and they completely lost their minds, and they just wiped him out. And eventually, they found him with his tractor on top of him. He's got a scathing speech that he did on the House floor, pointing out that we're under the greatest bankruptcy in the history of mankind, and really started exposing the workings of what we're all being completely beaten down by, and it's that what's in your wallet thing. I can never let off of it, because that is the transmitting utility. That is the avenue that they're going at. That's what the cops are out on the street demanding. What's your name? What's your date of birth? Where's your ID? Let's see that legal name. Throw in that social security number while you're at it, because as soon as we can key the mic, the money starts flowing. I mean, I know how that part of the system works. Everybody's out here seemingly acting confused. A lot of these guys, like Brian with Here's the Deal, he always mentions the Federal Reserve and the Mad Hatter printing press. And I said, yeah, man, but it's the legal names at the end of the day that they're hunting. And the reason they're hunting them is because that's where the money starts. As soon as they start tapping that trust that they should be taking care of us with, not robbing us. But the social insurance was created for any loss that they incur. It was not truly created to take care of us through the bankruptcy. That was, it's all been a lie. It's all been a grand deception. But, the idea of remaining economic slaves through taxation secured by the pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given a commercial value. That's why the state of subcorporations get like what do you think it's up to? $1 million, $2 million a year now?
What's that?
Well, the states get, the state being the District of Criminal or the state subcorporations like the state of Florida, You know, every baby that's born that they get registered, they get a kickback.
Yeah.
So you know who Rod Class is?
Yeah.
You know, Rod Class Woodstock Part 1. I mean, brilliant. You know, he goes right through it on the congressional record, shows you where the lawyers and the Bar Association have been the ones involved in creating this mess, talks about how much money the state ofs are receiving, and we're not being taken care of to that at that level for that kind of they certainly are taking care of themselves with their benefits and their pay and their fancy houses and their lavish dinners and yada yada yada. I mean, they're living it up, and we're getting our brakes beat off, and our homes stolen and our cars taken and being thrown in cages. And it's like, hey, this isn't really hard to figure out, and that's why making this video, and hopefully it'll make it to Kash Patel. I can try to get it to him. It's like, look, I sent the file date information to Dan Bongino and Tucker Carlson at their Fox affiliate email. They were let go 2 days later. I don't know if one had to do with the other. It's, you know, don't know.
Worst case, we could send them a registered mailing after we put together a packet.
Yeah, look, that was the step. That's where I was taking this thing with Douglas. I had a lot of people that were ready to like sign on. They wanted to be a part of serving every governor, because that's the top dog in every state of. And hey, you need to send a memo down the pipe. If we come in and we're aware of the correction needs to be made. But the problem we ran into is Social Security, because Social Security is so unapproachable. Those people, they just treat you like absolute dirt when you try to talk to them on the phone.
What if we sent him the public law on Citizenship Day, that all the sovereign citizens of our nation be honored?
Man, I'd be all about it. I'm all about, look, and look, we're going to include the governor's wives, just like Charlie Sprinkle did with his right to travel, you know, when he sued Reagan and his wife for his.
If you see right now, law enforcement is just off the hook with sovereign citizens and attacking people over nothing. And if we could get Kash Patel to address the sovereign citizen thing and get him to back off, it would help a lot. It would probably stop 1,000 attacks a day by law enforcement.
Well, for us that don't want to volunteer, and we want, look, here's the thing that I express to people. If when I corrected the date on TransUnion, and it reverted the child support to exceptional payment history, that always gets everyone's attention. Doesn't that show you that, wait a minute, that debt doesn't belong to us? That's not our debt. In fact, let me pull it up because I want to make sure I get it right.
On Luke's TransUnion update, they said on the phone that it was corrected and they would send a letter to verify within 10 days. We looked today; it's been 15 days and we haven't got anything from them.
Really?
Yeah, and they said on the phone they were going to handle it.
Did you record the call though?
No.
See, that's very important. That's probably what I should have been telling you guys. You got to record the call, because they'll tell you they're going to do something, and if you got to let them know, okay, well, I'm recording the call on my end. And then if they tell you you're going to do something and they don't do it, then you kind of got them by the short hairs. But Title 31, United States Code, Section 3123, all debts are United States obligations. Not some, not a few, all debts are United States obligations. We are the beneficiaries. We are the credit. The banks don't have any money to loan. The Federal Reserve window is being abused. This idea that we're giving open endorsements, you know, Brandon Joe Williams stuff. Really? You're supposed to be trustees under the Public Charitable Trust, taking care of the beneficiaries during a bankruptcy. But instead, all you're doing is stealing the credits and stealing all the assets. And it's got to stop. It's got to end. It should be like overnighted, hand delivered. And here's the thing, right? Exactly, that I'm aware of. And you know, they caught black cards with every legal name they could get a hold of. These guys were living it up, buying yachts, islands, and they got caught. It was a very short article. It didn't stay up. Of course, I have since lost that story, but we know that it's true. And here's the upside about this. If we want to fire up industry in this country, I don't care if they bring 10 million people from other countries in here to be the laborers, because they're obviously not going to get the beneficial position in their own country unless they get it together. But can you just fathom? I mean, man, I would be out there getting a room for every homeless vet family. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to help myself. It wouldn't be about me anymore. It would be about, what can I do to better the country? What can I do to put the industry back in place? What can we do to bring the hemp farming back in? What can we do to recognize the, as Jason,
you can't have any of that until you convene a Continental Congress.
Right.
Because run the military rule.
I got you. Right. The military rule under the Trading with the Enemy Act. Yeah.
You brought up something interesting that I thought about recently, is that Trump hasn't addressed any of the homeless veterans or any of that, not offered any services.
Why didn't they take all the funding that was sitting there, providing rooms for all of the newcomers, and just shift it to all the homeless Americans and veterans and people out here that are struggling, who don't even have shelter, who are starving on the streets?
None of that's changing. The homeless are still out there, and that's not even being addressed. They're being kind of like ridiculed more.
That's right.
And I'm kind of surprised because he's pro-military, while the fucking homeless vets are that military.
I know, and they wonder, why are they all so down and out? I said, because they came back and realized they were used in a banker war.
You can't just meld back into society when you've been out there killing people. I got a Marine buddy that, because I was a Marine, he was a combat engineer he went to 6 countries during the Gulf Wars, and he, as a combat engineer, he had 100 hand-to-hand kills, face-to-face.
Good Lord. Yeah, that's a tough. That's just,
so he can't stay clean anymore. He said the only time he's been clean was the 4 years he was in the Marine Corps, and he said he hasn't been clean at pretty much and he's been out for like 15 years already.
Right. And then, like I said, it's to the injury of what they've witnessed, be able to fill that shoe, because I've never had to go through that. I've gone through a psychological ass whooping here that I've soaked up, because I can just easily, openly talk about this, and it's just in my head. I Wars, great documentary. It,
I had a meme of a wounded Marine off the battlefield, and he was saying, "Don't die on me, bro. We haven't installed the central bank yet." And that meme was taken out of my computer. It disappeared, dude.
Wow. Well, with AI will make you all kinds of here. I haven't spoken with the AI yet, and it's obviously probably something that's going to happen, because I've got some questions, and with all the knowledge that I've been blessed with in my head, we're going to have a talk. And man, I'm telling you,
if we were under a civilian rule, what would be like at least considering it, but consider we're under military rule and we're ruled by the Ashkenazi and all this crap and the Masons,
right?
And we're going to have AI. I don't really think that's going to be a solution for us. It's going to be a solution for the public officials that want to eliminate us.
Well, I made a live feed. That's probably why Facebook now is deleting all the live feeds and deleting live feeds that are more than 30 days old. I made one for the veterans. Go down there and correct your date with your Veterans Administration and see how they treat you then. Again, Sue Bosgaz, I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
It's my friends list.
With Sue
Bosgaz, she's a Hawaiian, I think.
Yeah. She's a military. She was a captain. She's, exposing DC like nobody's business, trying to do Q warrantos. But I shared the file date with her and her husband. And I said, look, this, if you are trying to go at them, but you're still commingling your date of birth with their legal name, they're going to beat your brakes off. They're just going to ignore you. They're going to throw your stuff away. And people are like, I thought, and then literally like the FBI showed up on base like a few days later, after I shared this with her. She started getting visits. And, I've been threatened with death about sharing this. They got Douglas locked up. They're stealing his blood. They're trying to make things up. Now they found him incompetent to stand trial for the stuff they were making up, but the administrator orders stealing his DNA.
Medicated to death when they say incompetent to stand trial.
What's that?
I've already, through Brian Koth and my buddy Alan Char, Jennifer Kraszewski in Wyoming or Wisconsin, sorry, make them competent to stand trial, and they've already been deemed incompetent and been committed. It's basically a turn to the doctors to terminate them through medication.
Right. So that's why, but we're very concerned that they're going to kill Douglas Joseph. That's Herrick Douglas Joseph over in the Clark County, Nevada jail. They sent him over to medical. They're going to force him to give his blood. They told him if he doesn't allow them to take the blood, they are going to strap him down and take his DNA. And, Lombardo knows about the file date. Newsom out of file date. They've already had to deal with Douglas, especially Lombardo. Lombardo refused to extradite him when he educated him about the file date on this legal name.
We're dealing with the Jesuits and the Freemasons.
I don't care what club they're a member of. I'm like, it just doesn't matter. They're bad people. They're bad people who are not, they're of no benefit to us. And
no, that's why we need to host a Continental Congress, because the first Continental Congress, they established the Articles of Confederation, and it was de jure. The second Continental Congress, the government as a corporate entity.
Speak up a little bit, man, so they can hear you good.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
So in August of 1790, the Second Continental Congress, through the Freemasons, they abolished the Constitution basically in the government and recast it as a corporate entity. And that's why there's two states now, a federal state and then the de jure state. But the de jure states are in suspension until the gold standard is reintroduced. And that's why they're creating the digital currency to keep us off the gold standard.
Right. One of the things that Lotus Justice had and claimed to have seized the Treasury, claimed that because what somebody beyond her that shared with her that she came out and shared in feeds was the digitizing of the Treasury during the pandemic. That smoke screen, the pandemic was at the same time the digitizing of the Treasury. Was when Trump walked on stage and said somebody line out of Ohio was the one that actually declared the emergency for the country. And the first agency to shut down for the pandemic was the Security and Exchange Commission. And they canceled the Sunshine Act meeting where there was no way to have any input. And this involved what's called box option exchange. They're not listed on the Security and Exchange Commission, but they were helping this rogue, unknown box options LLC that's not even registered with the Security Exchange Commission. That's for the exchanges. This is where the KYC gets pushed. What, an ID or a passport up? You got to hold a legal name up next to your face and send them a picture of you holding it up in order to be on the exchange to trade digital assets. And, that's why they killed McAfee. McAfee had created an exchange that required no KYC in order to trade digital assets. It was supposed to be an exchange that couldn't be taken down, but somehow it's been taken down. It's not up. You cannot find this exchange that he created, and they of course got rid of him. So it is extremely dangerous for those of us realize what's going on. And I've always asked myself, where are our militias? How much does it take? How many people kidnapped over at the child trafficking protection agencies? For who and her husband who were murdered. Oh, they committed suicide, putting a bullet in the back of their own head. Yeah, I don't think so. But she was coming out with the information exposed within the Child Protective Services. So we've got a lot of ugly things going on. A lot of clueless people. Or they're just too scared to actually talk about it like we are right now. I mean,
you know who Ryan Payne is?
Sounds familiar.
He was the Bundys.
Okay, that's why it sounds familiar.
So over that he was running the militia. When I got there, I became his driver. He blew up the motor in his Jeep. So I asked him, "What's the best way to figure out what's really going on here?" Because I knew something was hinky. So I met Stuart Rhodes, and Ryan told me he didn't know Stuart Rhodes, but they had already met because I could tell the way they interacted. Same thing with Jerry DeLamas. He's a fucking fraud. We infiltrated his camp and right out of their camp and passed all their guards. They were up there drunk. They were stealing supplies from the militia, and they had taken a whole militia trailer that was donated by the Sons of Liberty, ransacked it basically. Sorry about that. I just got memories there. But so Ryan, he was working for a guy named Gary Hunt and a guy named Patrick D. Briley, and he wrote a book called Oklahoma City Bombing Case Revelations, and he patented it or copyrighted it. And he was identified by his trademark cowboy boots, and just for the last 30, 40 years, and he was running. And I found that out by interacting with Ryan Payne. It's in Texas currently.
Gotcha. This is a lot. Look, this is bringing a lot of things together right now.
So Blaine Cooper was doing all his Bundy's kitchen table. So the Bundys knew what was going on because Ryan Payne admitted to Brian Hunt, the California State Militia Commander, at the time, that he was with Blackwater at the time. Because there was a meeting with Brian, Cliven, me, because Buddha was presented by the Bundys as a former Gulf War Marine, and he was on work release from the prison, and so Ammon and his family let an armed felon be their security.
Wow!
And they knew it. And I found out later because I put a lot of money into. So the Oath Keepers, Stuart put out a call that all the Oath Keepers, and he's got gas money. So I donated $4,300 to Oath by that asshole that him and Sheriff Mack stole donations. And Brian Hunt could confirm this, that him and Sheriff Mack were down at the casinos in Vegas, spending them. Isn't that crazy?
Psychopolitical operations.
Well, so Stuart Rhodes was the Rhodes Scholar that overthrew the nation of Rhodesia for the Queen. And then they immigrated here. And Trump's family immigrated from Germany and changed their name from Trump to Trump. So there's a lot of these guys that we just haven't traced them, and they're just immigrants.
Right. Yeah, there's a story that goes around that that's not even the real Trump, that the real Trump died in a helicopter crash many moons ago.
Makes me wonder with his hair color, because how does it go? His hair isn't white. How does it go from dark color hair but to like orangish?
Goodness.
It doesn't look like he aged right if you look at his hair.
Man, with you know, you can start bringing in the cloning. You can start bringing in the math. Obvious that whoever was playing Biden when they caught scratching the neck, and you can see the mask just fold up, you know, or you know, is that somebody using special effect, or you know, but it didn't pretty authentic to me. And you know, who are covered that there was 5 different DUN numbers for the White House with me. You know?
Yeah. Dang. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've got them. I've got the 5 DUNS numbers. Yeah. Like I said, Glenn Wayne, man. Glenn Wayne had the most absolutely mind-blowing right to travel success ever that, you know, you could even begin to describe. And I told you, it was all about no license, no registration, no insurance, gets pulled up, walks up. Well, I don't have a driver's license. I don't have any of that stuff. Well, what's your name? What's your date of birth? Oh, are you looking for a legal name? Always clarify with these clowns legal name. They will always say yes. You know, I'm kind of doing this for the audience a little bit.
Sorry.
You're looking for a legal name. That's perfect. Gave him the full legal name, gave him the file, pulled up his old driver's license that he turned in 10 years ago, came back, gave him $1,000 non-surety bond. So we start looking for the legal name on the docket in New Brighton, Connecticut. And lo and behold, emails, phone calls, won't talk to him, won't answer the emails. Legal name up on the docket. We look for it all the way. And he didn't go because there was no legal name put up on the docket. Trying to get the body cams from the New Brighton, Connecticut Police Department, that didn't go over well. They after it was, you know, the supposed court date, he goes back to the police department. Hey, you know, I really need those body cams. And the chief of police comes out and says, what do you know, arms all wide open. Well, what do you need those for? It's been dropped, man. You're free. You're good to go. And to add it, the same cop that had pulled him over and was involved in this pulled him over when he was in another car he was using. And when he got up to the window and saw it was him, he said, I'm sorry. Glenn Wayne Schreiber. He was just blown away. Schreiber, Glenn Wayne. I overlooked this for all these years. I said, look, we all did. That guy I know back in the day, and he said, we were in traffic court doing court watching, and I asked the instructor, why is the state attorney all committed perjury? Because when you get that driver's license, your date of birth with it, under the penalty of perjury, you're now a walking, talking, dishonest contract, adhesion contract. You're in perpetual perjury. So you're guilty as soon as you, just for having the ID, just for the commingling of your date of name, you're already guilty. Yeah, man. It's just like, absolutely.
So I was recently prosecuted for a felony. They admitted at the sentencing hearing that I was an obstructionist. That was my crime. So they already found due process violations. Damn it. Sorry, I had a brain fart.
Obstructionist?
No, sorry. Okay, so I was telling you I got 3 ruptured discs, so I got bone-on-bone contact, and I had to take some painkillers, so it's just starting to catch up to me.
I got you. It's all right. It's all right. Well, all answers here. It's just going to take and see how simple the overlook is. Expose it at every level. This is what I've been telling people over and over. This has got to be exposed. Your website that you have with and Luke, man, he on board, and he's the one that is the well, no, he runs the server. He runs the server, right?
No, that's my webmaster Helaman. Luke's just my buddy over here. He's one of my trustees.
Well, is your webmaster been caught up to speed?
Yeah, he's been running the Citizens Action Network website for about 10 years.
But I'm talking about on the file.
No, and that's what I was talking to you about, because so I wanted to lay things out with you so we could get him to tell it's all up to your specifications.
Yeah. In fact, some of Douglas's material, because man, he's the one that's really ahead of all of us. He got it corrected with Social Action, with Social Security when he went in and got, and he had somebody at the window that, and it kind of, you go, well, now I know why they're like going after the Social Security Administration, because Doug's done infiltrated it in terms, because look, once you date correction, the only thing you're missing that legal name with its correct date of birth to be able to carry over to Social Security office, and then what is it called? What is it when you
moving a request to verify that you didn't apply for the Social Security.
The value there, you get in your black card. Is that what they? And I've heard a white card. I've heard the black card. You're getting some kind of card that gives you access to your trust.
With him, I'm assuming, because the IRS has power of attorney over everybody's until you correct the record, and that's claiming the minor account. So the people decedent are only doing step one. They're not completing it by depositing the Social Security card into the Treasury.
Interesting.
Because under Title 15, the Social Security card, credit card.
There's a post floating around, someone claiming they put the driver's license in the ATM and it asked for a PIN number. And now they got another post, and I've already made a comment out of the ATM, but haven't received.
Michigan, right? I live in California, but my birth certificate, your theory with that birth certificate, but I got to order one next month, and they took time, so I'll get on that. But so it shows the file date, and then the tear off strip is a check right there that they deposit. Or their warehouse receipt, is that what you would call it? But that's the only birth certificate that I've seen. The duality of it, where it's got the tear off strip that ties the file date in there.
Hold on, folks. Hold on. She's in there yelling for a brother.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Sorry, everybody. He's having a bad dream. Here, you lay on the big bed. Come here. Lay on the big bed. All right.
Dude, you're what's missing from the majority of society, present dad and their daughter and sons and daughters' lives.
Oh, I know, man. The absolute of everything around us is just like how go out and entertain themselves. How? I mean, I really find it very troubling out there, because you don't know what you're going to run into.
Yeah,
because they're hunting us. They're hunting us for profit. They're hunting us to tap into this trust. These trusts that they created. And when you go read the Intimate Papers of Mental House, or three control, Mr. Patel. is money printing, industrial relations, and the biggest one of all, trusts. You know,
Have you studied Title 15 at all?
go ahead, refresh us.
Title 15 of the and it also covers administrative process, and that's what I've been developing is a series of templates under Title 15 that are for when public officials violate their oath of office, so you can document it. And under the Private Attorney General Act, which broad classes administrative rulings would come into it too.
Yep.
And for us. So it's really interesting because I was hearing that Trump is moving things. Which with the AI, I don't know if that's true or not, because I wouldn't trust AI and common law to be on this. If it is true, then everything I'm doing is.
I know. Everything we're talking about should be like being blasted by Trump if he's for real. Just calling it out, and for Kash Patel saying, we need to get a federal agency, right. It's a private corporation. United States is,
Well, the FBI and everything, but what if he doesn't know that yet?
No, I got you. This is where we as the people, maybe he can get the memo and start looking at evidence that's being poured out here. There's the world over here that watches the mainstream media. They just don't have a clue about anything. They don't watch anything. They're just out there living their lives. And then you have those of us that are going on. But man, when you bring this file date up, even the people that have been researching for a long time fall out of their chair, man. They just fall out of their chair. The guy I know, John, he had to ask the instructor, why is the state attorney here in traffic court? And another instance was when his son for some gun deal in Daytona Beach, and the FBI was there, certificates spread all over the hood, and he's trying to defend his son in this situation. The FBI agent laughed at him and said, "The answer's right under your nose. You can't even see it," and laughed at him and walked away. And they were like looking at the birth certificate, couldn't see it. That's how well hidden in plain sight that file registration date is. And when you start looking up the terms file date, well, that is a birth date, the BERTH. So you have a birth, BI.
Yeah. What does it come under? It's under Title 18, vessel.
Correct, vessel and commerce.
But there's a code for it, and I just don't remember what the code is.
Oh, that's all right. Somebody out there, recall what the code is.
Your vessel and commerce comes under Title 18. And that's what you're saying. So we're registering our vessel and commerce right there and claiming it by commingling the title.
Exactly, man.
It is brilliant when you think about it, but that's why we can't return to the gold standard, because it would expose the birth certificate fraud.
Right. That's right.
And then the debt becomes due.
Well, here's the thing. It is exposed, but who out there? A lot of people don't want it to end, man. They want to ignore this even after you lay it all out for them. They act like they can't see it, or I don't know what. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Then you don't want it to end. Your bread and butter depends on it not ending.
You know about the style, right?
The style manual?
Yeah, well, the style and capitalization and things like that.
Yeah. Justinian deception calls that out pretty good. Romney Stewart did in Australia when he challenged where's the style manual used to create the name on the driver's license.
Yeah, but have you ever read the Articles of Confederation?
Yeah.
What is the style? What is the style of this confederation? So the Civil War was basically a Second Continental Congresses.
Right.
Confederacy. They chose the style of the United States of America and they picked the correct battle flag for the Republic, and nobody recognized what was going on because the Masons were controlling everything.
Right.
This was a fucking Freemason.
Right. Look, when you start talking about the all cap language, the Rosicrucians, because in my research, I ran across the Rosicrucians, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, were
Rosicrucians.
concerned about the all capital language. I was just like, wow, this starts getting deep. You know, it goes way back, and really it does. It goes back home. You know, the capitis diminished. You
got the Episcopalians, the Jesuits, the Rosicrucians.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like the Freemasons and Ashkenazi and trickled down to us, and we're all the ones eating it up. Back to the website a little bit.
Sure.
What I want to work on is I've been trying to work on the mission statement because I've exposed the issues, but been able to put into words the for humanity to be restoring be restoring lives towards free will and the ascension of humanity with in the family unit, as opposed to this satanic nonsense we're living in right now.
Here's one of the things, as we move forward, of Douglas Joseph, and what I discovered, he's better at explaining it than I am, but the full corpus of the Constitution to corpus of the Constitution to apply to you, you'd have to be Palmyra Island, which the only thing that lives on Palmyra Island is some rare bird. Yeah, and there's some history to this. This Palmyra Island, somebody went to the boat and had a baby, and they killed them because they couldn't let. You'd have to be born on the full corpus of the Constitution to apply to you. And when I share it with you, you can look at that. And my soulmate, and having to take on caring for our son and daughter, and my son being autistic, and it's really I don't opportunity to do what I was doing when we had Mama, because she took care of these babies like she was just man.
Sorry for your loss.
Clothes are washed. I love you. Oh, you need some loving? We got you. Just never complain. It just, like I say, the woman that every man would just to have. And yeah, she was. They murdered her, man. They murdered the cancer center. And I was so ragged at the time by her family, and they just couldn't see what was going on. They had a pin patch on each arm, hitting her with. Was freaking out and was saying, "What are they doing? Trying to kill her?" And her Pfizer.
Yeah,
it's there's nobody to turn to. That's the most frustrating thing for people that that get attacked is there's and where are we at as the American people if we're allowing the medical tyranny, the child deal going on. Ammon just shared some video of some woman who they tell her, "Oh, just come sit in the ambulance with us," and once they get her in the ambulance, they take the baby. It's one of those tear jerkers. It's one of those antagonizing videos. But they did that in Loudon. I think it's Loudon, Colorado. They come and take a 1-month-old baby that's breastfeeding. Now they're after Callie. They're after her newborn baby because it's not registered. I don't know what was going on in Loudon and why they came after this baby, because the the dad's ex, it was supposedly CIA, and people are pretty much up in arms with that. But we got so much going on that antagonizes people, because politics is the antagonizing of the people, that's all they can see is the ooh and the oh my gosh, how could I do this? That you got all that going on, but you don't have a whole lot of people going, well, what's going to resolve this? What can we expose that these people, there's just nowhere for them to run? And that's this file date. I mean, it's prima facie evidence of millions, probably billions of, I would say billions of people, 3 billion people, they say, just in North America.
What's that? 3 billion people in North America?
Isn't that what the population they say is?
Oh, I don't know. I would say it's probably closer to maybe 800 million between North and South.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah, because Brazil, I think, is the largest country down there, and they're less than, I think they're like a 180 to 200 to 130 million, and the rest of the countries down there are all like less than 70 million.
Okay, so about 300 million.
Here, there's 330 right now, 340,
okay.
So 340.
So here, just in North America, 300 million people have evidence of this file date on the birth certificates that they're holders of.
Yeah,
that's a lot of evidence. That's nobody's left out here. This is why it's like, look, no one's left out. Everyone's involved in what's going on here, whether you know it or not. With that, what's in your wallet deal. And it's so evident what they hunt day in and day out. What's your name? What's your date of birth? Give me your ID.
What if we use this to some of the Mexicans that have used that immigration policy about if you were born here in America?
Oh, I know. Look, Scotland's got this. UK has this. At least the people that are paying attention. Canada's picked up on this.
I would say all the countries do, because they're all captured under the Admiralty, and they're all paying taxes to the IRS. Did you know that?
We have Nicaragua in the house right now on YouTube. So this thing is making its way around the world, and as soon as enough of us come together on a worldwide scale,
that's what Citizens Action Network's been about for 10 years. We got people all over the world. That's why Australia's on fire right now, because we've been sharing the truth that their government's a corporate entity. Right.
Exactly. Well, the rubber's going to meet the road, man, when you're able to put that website. And, we need to get Douglas out, man. We need to get him out. Jason was talking about everybody going to Lombardo's, I guess, their website or the governor page, and there's a thing to do a clemency for him. Herrick.
God. Okay, so do you know who Evil Love is on Facebook? Does that name ring a bell?
Not sure.
I saw her comment on one of your posts, I think, but it was like 7 years ago. Oh, no, it was Seiko 7, sorry. Anyway, she hit me up for Rodney Reed, and he was on death row in Texas several years ago for a murder charge. And I entered the case as a private attorney general and investigated things online. And I sent a fax to the governor of Texas and another one to the attorney general, and they granted him a 4-month stay of execution. And I did this because she called me upset, saying that it was just on the news that they just denied his last stay of execution and he's going to be put to death. You got to help him. So I did. And it was announced on the news the next night that he had been granted a 4-month stay of execution. And so we can confirm that this stuff does have effect and they do listen to it. But he was still executed 4 months later because the media told his family that Kim Kardashian got him an attorney. And when I got in contact with them, they blew me off.
Well, here's a really troubling thing. Is Lombardo refused to extradite Doug when he was arrested coming from Mexico through California, and they arrested him. And then he wrote Lombardo and broke down the file date, explained everything to him. And the response from Lombardo was, let him go, just to come back to Nye County, Nevada for them to swat him and recapture him.
The only thing I've heard working with people and children in the family court stuff is claiming them as property. I want my property returned immediately. So the only thing I could say to the governor and fax it to him that, hey, I need my property returned to me. He's my household goods.
Well, more to point, if Lombardo should have already stepped in. Look, he booked in to the Clark County Jail with the file date. It's a matter of public information. So they're holding a man, even though it's correctly booked into their system using the correct date with the legal name.
Do you know about the CAFR?
Yep. The comprehensive financial reports.
Comprehensive annual financial reports.
Yep.
I learned about him from Arnie Rosner at Scanned Retina like 10 years ago.
Arnie,
he's now passed away. He was in his arm. Go ahead. What? You know Arnie?
I mean, yeah, man. We did a lot of blog talks, man. Ed Johnston.
Arnie's badass, dude. I went down and met him in person, and I had a roundtable discussion with him and with like 8 other people trying to network him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, him and Ed Johnston, old Ed Johnston. You got to file.
Oh, yeah, dude. With his covered wagon.
You got to file. Yes. I don't know if Edward's still around. Arnie, yeah.
Arnie passed away several years ago, and his family finally let the website go. And Ed passed away, I think, within the last 6 to 8 months.
Jeez.
But dude, Ed was living on borrowed time for fucking the last 10 years. That guy should have been dead 20 times.
Yes. Me and Ed Johnston did so many blog talks together, man. And, and I finally kind of broke away because I was just, look, I can't get over the fact of how do they justify these birth certificates being involved in our life in the first place? This shouldn't exist in our lives, and I'm that simple-minded kind of guy. First, justify this even existing in my life. And a lot of the response, well, it does. You'll never own anything. I got attacked. And I'm like, you're still not justifying it. You can't. It's a creation of the Federal Reserve. And this is where Kash Patel comes in, talking about, the Federal Reserve is I know it's a problem. It's a problem. And this is the thing about Ron Paul that always frustrated me, was he was never talking about the birth certificate. Oh, we need to end the Fed. Well, it's a lot easier to end the pledging than it is to end the Fed. And if you end the pledging, well, then you're creating what? You're creating de jure domicile. You're creating natural, organic, living men and women, babies that have to be recognized in some form or another. They can't just be ignored and not allowed to work and not allowed to participate and not allowed to use the king's roads. And, that's what it comes down to. And I look at my son and daughter and I go, man, they are truly an exception to a huge crowd. Mm-hmm. To a huge crowd. And any of you out there listening to this, I can use your support. I will throw a Cash App up. The more support I get, the more time I can put into this. If I can get enough support, I can bring in some help and I can really pour it on. But right now, my time is very stretched and most of it's going towards my son and daughter. And especially my son, he is a challenge and he's a full-time care. I have to bathe him, change his diaper every day, try to help him keep recovering. Got to try some different natural things. One of the things they said was cod liver oil, believe it or not, for vitamin A deficiency. I tried to get Jack Cruz to pay attention.
No, there was something that was just out within the last week that said that autism is another parasite. Right.
Everything seems to be a parasite.
Dude, my son has autism. He's 13 now, and I've seen shit under his skin. It's weird. He gets these weird welts.
Huh. Well, I haven't noticed any of that with my son.
I'm going to get him on the parasite cleanse as soon as I get some more money.
Right. Yeah. See, that's, another problem. We get our brake speed off and we get run into ground financially. And, look, they stole my $500,000 home in Colorado. Cindy Leiden of the Rumler, Tallbox and Leiden law firm stole everything I owned. everything I owned. And they didn't have paperwork for over an hour, 2 hours. They kidnapped me and then went and swatted mom and the babies. And, you know, this is when I was involved with networking with the Bundys. And I'm like, yeah, that probably might have put a target on me and my family. And, you know, they stole everything my cousin owned. Joy Chulamanis and Chris Chulamanis. They stole everything they owned out of the house. You know, they took everything, man. They took my business. They took my trucks, everything, my baseball card collections, all my pictures, everything. They just stripped me. My guns. She stole my guns. Cindy Lyden stole my guns. And you couldn't get anybody to do anything. I'm like, look, she admitted to having my guns, telling me I'll give them back to you if you don't get convicted of this felon. They were trying to make me a felon, trespassed on a house, okay, that I bought from the estate. I paid on it for over a year, almost a year and a half. And all the receipts for it, it just didn't matter, man. I thought the Castle Rock police were going to kill me. You know, the same people that where the Supreme Court ruled that they really have no duty to protect us. I was right there in the heart of that place. Castle Rock, Colorado is where I ended up. I found a friend. He let me stay in his house.
Well, they have a duty to protect the property of the corporation, right?
That's it. That's all they do.
What's the property?
Yeah, but Cindy Lyden stole.
It's the adrenochrome vessel.
Right. Yeah, Cindy Lyden stole my guns on Colorado and just got away with it. I mean, got away with it. There was just, it becomes too scary to try to pursue anything because then they're going to attack you more. And people out there, you know, I wonder how any of them make it through getting compensation for the harm, injury, and loss, you know, without being erased, zeroed out, you know. And I don't mind throwing names, man. It involves my back here in Florida, my former disgraced sheriff, my sister's husband, you know, and it's just like these people have world who they harm.
Yeah.
And when we had a newborn baby, and he's not registered, so they stole his home. I was paid up to date. I just made a payment 4 days before they raided the house.
Reserve notes, huh?
In cash at the bank. Yep.
What if you? So yeah, but we live and learn, though, huh?
Yeah, we live and learn.
What if you'd have paid your payments in postal money?
I know, but man, no, we shouldn't have to do all this. This is my point too. We should not have to jump through 57 different hoops to maybe find some remedy. You know,
yeah, we're the fucking modern day swashbucklers.
Right. Under the Trading with the Enemy Act, there won't be any remedy provided in either of the courts. You read this yourself.
Any of the courts, yeah.
Either of the courts. What are they talking about? Either of the courts. What?
Well, we have the probably the difference between the Supreme Court, which is original jurisdiction, and the Article 1 the appellate courts, the circuit courts, and the district courts.
It's funny. I went on True Social under Trump's.
Public. I would say that's public and private. So that would be equity and commerce.
No remedy in either of the courts.
Equitable and commercial, I would think. Because he who has the gold makes the rules, and the Federal Reserve notes are only debt notes.
Yep. But there is a way to get remedy. I think it's through the comptroller. We're supposed to be submitting our invoices. So when I corrected the date, one of the guys. Go ahead.
Okay, so a guy named Curtis Timothy Keller on my friends list. He's the guy that trademarked his name. He has been doing remittances to the Treasury, and so what we're supposed to be doing is when we get receipts from spending our Federal Reserve notes out there, we're supposed to do remittances to the Treasury, and they deposit the money back into your account.
Right. Yeah. My problem is I don't even have an account.
At the Treasury?
Huh?
Are you talking about the Treasury or at the bank?
A bank. I don't have a bank account.
You have a treasury account?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do. You just haven't claimed it.
Okay, so I got to claim the Treasury Direct account. Yeah, this is kind of where my administrative skills is like, oh gosh, I got to go through this. Okay, maybe you can help me out with that. But one of the things that happened when I corrected the date, on and this is about the child. One of the guys that was friends with John, who was in law school with the state attorney in the traffic court, he heard what was going on. He came and saw me because he was on his third bankruptcy, his third foreclosure on his custom built home that him and his dad built. He didn't want to lose it, and wanted to, wanted to correct his date, which I helped him do. And lo and behold, they were telling him no more refis, you're done, we're foreclosing. And when he corrected the date, magically they were ready to refinance the house, gave him a refi better than he can ask for. Well, he was a former sheriff's deputy. He was a bailiff at the courthouse where the child support issue was filed, where it was generated from, and he knew the comptroller over there. And that's what he told me. The comptroller had to go in there and like plug it in, like shift it, like pay it. That's why it spit back exceptional payment history. And he was the one telling me, man, they're going to bring you your black card. I'm like, well, it would be nice if they hurried up because I could do a lot of good stuff with it.
Well, so the county, I think the county and the state are ultimately liable because so we're dealing with new forms of corporations called series LLCs, and they're franchises, but they have to keep the books balanced under the bankruptcy. So if you submit a proper claim, they have to compensate you.
Yeah, Derek Gonzalez just spit some information out about Florida and rights violations and their risk management and who to file it with, and it can be up to 200,000 and no hearing and all this good stuff. If they decide to have a hearing, they'll put a lawyer on the deal. But look, it's the same thing when I served the clerk of the court over there with the correction of the date and informed them that I'm moving forward to correct it everywhere I can. And they dropped the third-degree felony they were trying to frame me for impeding a little forestry dork, which was just a train wreck for them. But I was playing games. I know never to take a lawyer, but I took a public defender so I could call the voted-in head of the 5th District Public.
Okay, so when we were talking, did I tell you about what that I had 5 arraignments on my felony?
Okay, no.
Okay, so at the third arraignment, the judge said, I don't understand why you won't accept the public defender, Mr. School. And I said, I would be happy to accept the public defender if you will ask her to enter a notice of appearance of counsel into the record. When I did that, this public defender started waving her hands and yelling, no, no. She's not been fired. She's been transferred to the Santa Barbara County Public Defender's Office, and she's no longer a supervisor. So so I didn't know for the last couple of years why she did that, why she was so outrageous like that in court, and why she's no longer here. Well, today I was helping Luke. You can talk to Luke, helping him do a notice to relieve the public defender. And on a previous case where they'd come after me and they'd have to drop the charges, I did a motion to relieve the public defender because one of the things of ineffective assistance of counsel is failure to file a notice of appearance of counsel into the record.
Interesting. There's another tidbit for you folks.
They do this. They only do these in civil cases because when they do that, they're acting as your agent and they're acting in your stead. So if you get sentenced to jail, they're the ones that got to do the time.
Interesting. Yeah, because when I served the clerk of the court, the correction of the date for the legal person involved in the matter and all matters that had ever been heard under this legal name at that courthouse, they dropped the case. The public defender had to call me, and when she did, which I recorded the conversation, I've just never released it. And the public defender calls me and says, "Your case has been dropped." And man, this lady was a bitch. I'm on just straight up. She was just a bitch because when we first got involved, she She had never looked at anything, calls me up, 2 years probation, community service. I started laughing at her. I'm like, you've lost your mind. Because, I mean, it was so bad. Their case was so bad that it was just like the worst lawyer should have been able to like mop the floor with it, you know? And these guys all really should have went to jail and been sued and lost all their assets and all this stuff. But I don't get into the vengeful mode. But she when she called me and told me the case was dropped, she said, do I have to worry about you filing a complaint with the Bar Association? Because the Bar Association, they should be knowledgeable enough to know that our date of birth shouldn't be commingled with illegal fiction. That's how deeply they are involved they are. And that's probably why they sent the memo out. I don't know if it's true or not. Supposedly a memo was sent out to all the lawyers telling them they better get out of the country. Yeah, I was like, well, that's
the original canned mission statement covered Kennedy's murder, or both the Kennedy's murders, and and Q, because Q was the gravesite of John F. Kennedy, and I always thought that was interesting, because when I was secretary of the Fourth Continental Congress, I hosted a debate series. It was called the Presidential Debate Series, and it was in 2016 before the election. And Trump was invited, but we had 6 other presidential candidates call in. And it was interesting because it was 6 2-hour segments. And I let the candidates each talk about their platforms and then in their education and things like that. And then I told them all why none of them were qualified to be president. And they all started yelling at me and arguing. And I told them that, have any of you ever created a corporation? And they said no. And I said, well, then how can you say you're qualified to run one? And when I explained it to them in Title 28 USC 3002 15A, which is further supported by Corpus Juris Secundum, which says that the United States government is a foreign corporation with respect to a state, it opened all their eyes up, because nobody knew that we had a government posing, we had a corporation posing as a government, which is a human rights violation because it's a denial of a nationality.
And it's definitely trafficking in persons.
Huge, dude. It violates Article 15 of the UN Charter.
Yep.
We're directly opposed to the BRICS nations now, which is like, I think it's 84% of the global population is aligned against the United States, and the BRICS nations are operating on the gold standard, which is compliant with the 1792 Coinage Act under the Constitution.
Right, and didn't Texas make a move to instill that all your fiat's considered gold back?
I have heard about the goldbacks and I have seen them, but I haven't studied it. I've been trying to figure out this law and how to get us some remedy and at least start seeing some prosecutions.
Right. Look, there's so many people to prosecute. It would probably take lifetimes.
The 1099 process, I 1099 the 2 prosecutors on my case. They both got fired.
Well, I'm going to go, once this YouTube video wraps up, I'm going to go drop this towards Kash Patel, and we're going to see what that's made of. It's the same thing with Bobby Kennedy, man. Why hasn't Bobby Kennedy removed the vaccine requirement for people getting SNAP? Because that's got a lot of people that are just, I got to get my food stamps, so I got to go ahead and let them poison my offspring.
Dude, with robotics and the AI and everything going on right now, and the masks that you were talking about earlier, we don't know who's still around.
That's right. We don't know. I can't believe
that Bobby Kennedy would be an honorable man all these years and suffer all these years as his father and his uncle did, to turn his back and become a traitor in the 9th hour. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, there's a story going around that they're blackmailing him, that they have something on him. And I'm just like, good gosh, when it's really hard to find anyone with clean hands, that they've got such horrible skeletons in their closets that, they seem like they're going to be effective until they start pulling those skeletons out. I better shut up. And then there's the threat of the biodigital convergence, because if they truly have a technology and a remote control to everyone's body through the nanotechnology that they've been spraying us with like Julian Assange was explaining when he got cut off on his last transmission. If that technology exists, I would tell everyone go watch the movie Gamer with Gerard Butler. And if they truly have that, then everyone's compromised from top to bottom. And this is what I was telling people before AI even started, even people started even realizing there was AI. I was telling everyone, look, everything's being run by artificial intelligence. You know, I was kind of the oddball out. I said, everyone's compromised from top to bottom. There's a lot of these people that are doing the things that they're doing. They don't want to be doing it.
Do you know what the number one source of nanotech is?
Share it.
Hershey chocolate. What holiday just passed?
Easter.
Yeah. What's the number one thing we share? It's fucking Easter candy. All that chocolate
on the Gregorian. Yeah.
Me and the kids, we've all been getting sick, but it passed for me really quick because I chug grape juice as a counter when I get sick now. I avoid chicken, like they say, feed a cold. We're feeding zosters from the vaccines. The shingles, the herpes, chicken pox, all that. It's all related.
Wow.
So the grape cleanse, if you can get seeded grapes and eat them, grapes are a meal, and it was documented in the 1800s. If you can stomach eating grapes as a meal and do a fast for 35 days, you will remove every disease and toxin and issue from your body, because grapes replace diseased and unhealthy infected cells with clean, healthy new cells.
Yeah, don't say that too loud, man, because then they're going to taint the grapes.
Oh, they're already targeting the grapes. You can't find seed grapes anywhere. I found them in my county in 3 areas. So I got like 10,000 seeds, and I got four plants going from last year.
Roger that. Roger that. Well, man, we definitely got a lot of work to do. Where is everybody? You want remedy? This conversation right here is going on 2 hours of power right now.
Dude, if they want to contribute, if they really want to get on board, they need to check out citizensactionnetwork.info and help contribute to the mission statement, because we need contributors to help me flesh that out so we can get us all back on the correct path.
Well, look, after speaking with Jason, who's in Nevada, who knows a lot of people, he running for commissioner. He's been like at Trump dinners and all this good stuff. So he's close to people. And I was able to share with him about the file date. He was completely blown away. Oh my gosh. Anybody that has, is worth their salt and they see it and they've just, yourself, anybody, myself included. I was just like the light. And he's about the law of timeline. We should be on the 13-month calendar. We shouldn't be calendar. So that is a very powerful thing. And I pretty much know that's got to be another part of their tricking us into their, is we're accepting any contract with their calendar. See, I don't.
Yeah.
So you throw in that file date and you throw in the using the, throws off the idea of you thinking your certificate or your mom's curse that's been going on, lying, because my true date of birth on the 13th month is 13/21 of the cosmic moon. And for me, I'm like, man, I wonder who the next one's going to ask me. What? Like, well, 13/21 of the cosmic moon. What are you going to do with that? What are they going to do with that? They're going to think you're crazy. Yeah, and understandably so, because it's so far off their and a lot of people's knowledge base that they're going to have to wrap their minds around it. They're going to have to with the fact that we should not be using anything they created. We're going to throw this thing back in line. And, soon I'm going to have a conversation with the AI and I'm going to do it live and we're going to call it out. like we are right now.
Do you know that the 13-month calendar was in use in the United States until 1928?
Yep.
Isn't that crazy? So if it's not, that's not even. It can't be that hard to refigure out how far we are off from the.
Exactly. The whole idea of April Fools. The people that did not want to accept the new calendar.
Yeah. This is not the beginning of the new year. That's not when things come back to life.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
It's really interesting, this 13-month calendar thing, that all the women menstruate. It's not random like it is now.
Right.
Spotty.
Well, now, from what I know, if they're all in the same household, they will.
Oh, yeah.
So that shows the division going on with all of the women. 13-month calendar, will they all synchronize? Because we're all supposed to be one.
Yeah.
If we're all one, especially for the women, the womb man who's bringing the life in, carrying the life, we're the seed. And what is our responsibility as men? Our responsibility of men is to protect the babies that are coming into this world. Our true responsibility, deeper than all, that I've shared with people, is the fact that we know that our daughters, or we hope that our daughters, will grow up and have babies. So the baby yet to be even formed in their womb, but will be formed in their womb, we need to be protecting them. This is kind of brings abortion out and puts it in a whole new light. That our responsibility is to protect the unborn and those not even formed in the mother's womb yet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the
we got to extend that. We got to extend it to prenatal care while they're pregnant, and also afterbirth care, where the baby is the placenta is left attached to the baby until it's completed its proper course of delivery of nutrients to the baby before it's disconnected.
Yep, because that's what my little girl, that's what she got. That's what she got. Oh man, look, we had a baby without anyone's help. Me, mama, and the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Yep. And it was so much better. Founded around all of that madness. Hospital. He got VitK by mouth. He never got a vaccine. I'm trying to get Bobby Kennedy. Hey, pay attention. And all these people, oh, it's the vaccines. I said, look, my son wasn't vaccinated. He got VitK by mouth. So that means they're just literally dumped poison in his mouth.
Yeah.
And we're going to allow this to continue. And they're 1 in 31. Now it's 1 in 10. And I mean, are we supposed to survive as a species?
We're not.
That's right. We're not. And that's
They've already captured our DNA and everything they need. They mastered stem cell research in the 80s. The AI has been around for thousands of years. We're rebuilding it, and it's got what it needs. We're no longer necessary.
Yeah, that's one of the sad things. Is the placenta for my son was in the freezer, and they just threw it out like it was just. I don't know what they did with it. To be honest with you, I don't know if anybody really caught on that there was a placenta in the freezer in Colorado when they took my home. Yeah, Cindy Leiden of the Rumler, Tulloch and Leiden law firm. I'll always call the bitch out because she was another nasty bitch that got away with theft. And man, look, they stole 40 acres that my cousin had that was on the, what do they call that? The Margino line runs through Colorado. It was so beautiful, man. 40 acres nestled in the most beautiful mountains. And and these despicable fucking people were allowed to just steal it, steal everything, and I guess maybe, soon, revenge is coming, and They won't get away with it. You
Dude,
know?
a predatory lender was allowed to steal $250,000 in equity from my home. The law librarian was a federal attorney. She was in on it. She fucked up my paperwork, so I was thrown out of the house. The judge had told me that I didn't need to go to the second hearing because it was a prove-up hearing for my brother, not me, because he was on the lease basically. And I called the realtor after because I didn't know that she was part of it at the time. She testified against me at that second hearing. And the judge at the first hearing told me that I didn't need to go to the second one because it wasn't about me, and it was. And she chewed me out saying, how do you expect to win a trial if you don't show up at your own hearing? They're all fucking in on it, dude.
Yeah, these fucking people, man. They got it coming. They truly have it coming, man. And you know, I'm big on the karma, no matter how long it takes. You know, and the idea of, you know, work hard and pay your bills. What a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, what a lie. What an
Obey, consume.
Go ahead.
Obey, consume.
Yeah, obey, consume. They live, man. On Facebook.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's all they want us to do. Obey, do what you're told, and consume what we give you.
Yep, that's right. That's what I keep telling everybody, man. We keep going down this road, and look, you know, we're coming on to the 2-hour mark on this. It's been long, but it's been informative. See, when I noticed that right to travel was quite the struggle, and I said, man, if we don't get that basic right back, we're not going to have any rights. So it got me digging, especially after 9/11, which was the catalyst for the federal takeover of all transportation. And I was poking around the DOT site when the federal takeover of trucking happened. And I was just going from this link to that link to that link, which led the manifesto of the transportation seat. The transportation seat will be known as the seat of power. And I don't even get into in this video, but it's all happening right now before my very eyes. And I don't know anybody else that's seen this, and I don't know who knows what I'm talking about, because obviously there were I wasn't supposed to be reading it, and it talked about how they were going to shift the sheriffs, how everything was going to be all movement, all control of all movement, how they were going to seize anything that you could possibly use to fight back, monster trucks, bulldozers. And now we see them going to electric, everything electric, tractors, farm tractors, construction, everything electric, so they can just turn it off with the flip of a switch. And I knew, I knew when we went from analog to digital, we were in big trouble. And that was quite I said, man, we're in big ass trouble. Because these people.
Do you remember the every house had a landline phone?
Yep.
And all the phones, we had phone centers in all the little towns, and they had batteries in them. So when the power went out, we still had phones. That was that was our communications backbone and one of our strengths. Everybody had a gun, and all the phones worked even if the power went out. And they fucked that all up now, where when the grid goes down, everything gets shut off, and we don't even have phones anymore.
That's right. That's right. And that's why everything they're doing on the internet are tied to the cell phones. If you can't get your authentication code, you can't get on. So people are not realizing how quickly the shutdown's going to come and how drastic it's going to be. You're not going to be able to do nothing. You're not going to even be able to get on the internet to communicate. You know, you're going to need a Raspberry. You are going to need that type of technology, and not enough people are going to be in the loop.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, we're lacking participation really bad. And like I said, you know, you've heard of we're not ruled by a majority, but a majority that participates. Anymore, we're not ruled by a majority, but rather a majority that goes along with the printing press and the monopoly on violence.
Dude, they did a study. A wrestler revealed this, that at the WWF events, that when wrestlers would come out that weren't popular and the crowd would start booing, that they would start piping in applause and support and cheers, and the crowd would start reacting to it and follow the piped in bullshit.
That's right.
So it shows how easily we can be scripted. And I can kind of say that I agree with it from going to a hockey game, because when the crowd cheers, you cheer with them.
Right. Yeah. See, I don't watch any sports. I don't participate in any of it. I just can't do it.
I love because once I found out football was scripted, it was over.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's really bad too. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, all completely the gambling house.
It's all sports entertainment.
They have to rig it. They have to rig the game. House needs to win. You know? And it just takes the fun. There's no unpredictability to it. There's no real talent going on there anymore. To say because you're not if you're that talented, you're not allowed to be. You know, you're going to take the fall in the fight. You know, that's age old with the mafia, and you know, hey, you know, you're going to go in there, and you know, no matter whether or not you can win the fight or not. And that's kind of where we're at. People are just taking the fall and feeling like, you know, they can't win the fight, or even if they think they can win the fight, they're tempted over to the printing press. You know, bring me my black card, I'll disappear. You'll never hear from me again. You know
that the Indian warriors in the 1800s would fight to the death, and they would charge to their deaths and welcome it because they believed that they would wake up from the dream, that this isn't reality, and it's really not. But they were more acclimated to honor and things like that. We've lost that, but they're not fear oriented. They face their fears, and people have to realize that, because we're in the end game, and if you don't face your fear now and stand up to it, you're going to repeat the lesson.
Well, worse than that, we're going to leave the nightmare for our sons and daughters.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
You're on the right track, dude. You might be one of the indigos that brought back one of the first crystal children.
Yeah, that's where I've been at for quite a while. How can I leave this mess to my children, to my sons and daughters, and my grandsons and granddaughters? Because I'm at that stage.
That's why I need help with the mission statement on the website, because this all needs to be incorporated into it. So we're putting like a path towards ascension and prosperity through free will. That is by restoring children's proper birth process, so they're coming into the world as a healed being and not a fucking traumatized mess.
Exactly.
Circumcised.
They killed a baby the other day in circumcision.
It's fucking people insane. Are telling me I'm an asshole, and I'm like, fuck you.
I know, right? Like, no, we're wait a minute, it doesn't matter. Circumcision doesn't matter. Go read your Bible.
Nobody's taking a knife to my kid's dick. End of story.
Right. Exactly. My son. yeah. My son as well. My son as well.
The Jewish priests are over there sucking on these kids' dicks after they've been circumcised. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Remember, we're on YouTube.
Sorry, that's the Ashkenazi, not the Jews.
I know. Yeah, you try to point that out too. Look, it's not all of this. Is not like all lumped together. You know, there's bad people from every walks of life, and we're dealing with a lot of bad people from a lot of different walks of life because they're willing to sell you out to the monopoly on violence and the printing press. That's why the printing press has to go, Kash Patel. You're right. It has to go, but what has to go first is the legal name that they're getting to every one of us with. Yeah. That is ground zero. You know, we are the foundation. You're never going to grab the top of that pyramid and tear it down, but you can start knocking the blocks out, and you can stop adding blocks to it by what? Registering the biological property to these elite bankers. And
I believe that the style changed in the Second Continental Congress, and that's when they incorporated the Dog Latin.
Well, I know the Dog Latin goes back to Justinian, as Bromley Stewart's brought out. You know, great work that he's done. Even this to like Brian with Here's the Deal. He's got a pretty decent YouTube, and I shared the file date with him, and he said, "Well, I just got my Illinois birth certificate on Williams process." I said, "Well, what's the file date?" "Well, there isn't one." I really lift an eyebrow. I said, "If there isn't one, they're trying to hide it from you like California is." And see, that's kind of why they're rushing into this digital because they want to be able to have the baby, the name, and all of that done all in one swing. So there is no gap between the baby being born and the legal name being created.
Well, what it's going to lead to is it's going to wedding signature to fund everything. So they're changing so much power of attorney over us now that they don't require the wedding signature anymore.
Right. Came together with the dishonor. They'll name to register to vote. Your vote doesn't count. They can make whatever. See, so the you want to talk about voter fraud and how the whole thing is completely corrupted. You are in registering to vote with your date of birth with a legal name, ID or no ID. It's a voter registration card. See, I've never registered to vote. I've never participated in election, corporate crap shoot ever in my life. In fourth grade, when they explained the God, I'm tongue tied. The electoral college in fourth grade, when they explained the electoral college to us, and I said to the teacher, so you're telling me if everybody in the state of Florida wanted Bob, but the electoral college decided that they liked Adolf Hitler, the electoral college could override the masses and go for all. And she's like, you just need to sit down and shut up. And I gave her some choice words that got me sent and had the same argument with them in the office. I said, then my vote doesn't count. Oh, you need to sit down and shut up. Like, oh, do I?
No, you're exactly right. And I've known that for about, I think, 2 years. That the electoral college runs the vote, not the people.
Right. Yeah. No, I was running that out in fourth grade, man. I was like, oh, so my vote wouldn't matter. What would it matter if I vote? And well, you vote the electoral college people in. I said, it doesn't matter. I said, if they're overriding what the consensus has chosen, then my vote doesn't count. If it can be overridden by a smaller group of people, it doesn't count. So it's rigged. The game is rigged. I'm like, oh man, she didn't like me very much, and I told her to suck my beep. And
nobody has challenged Emergency Order 100 in court yet.
Well, we have certainly in this couple hours, Mike, and
forget about her.
Hey man, when the file date was pointed out to me, I pissed at her because I was like, where's the file date in all of this? Why aren't you telling people it? Corrected on the credit repository bureau, so they reported against them.
Well, have you?
What's that?
Have you studied Anna's processes?
No, I wouldn't have it for freedom.
Well, okay, so we already talked about Jennifer Goodwin Hall is who her legal authority is that does her writing and research for her.
Jennifer on the phone when she broke up with Derek Gonzalez. Derek Gonzalez knows about. I get a little fed up because what's your intent if you are just going to stay silent about this date discrepancy? Why are you being silent? Why everything else under the sun except for the one thing you can point to that's just prima facie evidence of oops, they know. What are we going to do? They know, and more people are knowing every day.
So back to Anna. Okay,
so sorry.
Our issue right now, is that the United States or Social Security, whoever, is somebody other than you is the beneficiary of your estate. You're the co-trustee. Well, if you do Anna's paperwork, she's the beneficiary. So how does that help you to expatriate from the United States?
Yeah, I had heard that a lot of people were not comfortable with. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's.
The Florida Assembly and the Texas Assembly both reported that she had swindled off as a fraud because she didn't know what she was talking about. And she's also married to a registered sex. So she doesn't really have any credibility.
Jeez, now I didn't know that one.
Sure about it because so I don't know if you ever heard of the name Steve Curry.
Yep.
So met with Arnie, and that's how I knew him. And I met him at the Bundy Ranch. He came out to meet me. He co-wrote the bar lien with Anna, but Steve went to prison for 2 years for doing it, but Anna didn't.
Yeah, Jennifer Goodwin's going to hear from me because, look, she's got mad administrative skills. But if she's doing the writing for Anna, there's only a brief mention of there being 2 dates. And that's it. There's no groundwork. There's no like the Achilles heel of the legal name. This like just completely is the easiest, simplest, free knowledge that you instantly. Because if they cannot get you, and that's why they're on Doug so hard, because he will not stand in that courtroom and go, yeah, that's my name, and yeah, you can use my date of birth with it.
Yeah.
That's why we're so hard. That's why we're I want to meet, because man, we need to pull it together with your webmaster. We need to have some conference calls. We need to pull this thing together with the right people. That that's what we need.
But no Anna agents.
Look, man. If you don't know, you don't know. But once you know, if you buck it, if you ignore it, if you then yeah, you can kick rocks, because there's something wrong going on there, and intent is everything, is it not?
Yeah.
To bring this thing down and expose it with the most powerful thing go up against these people is when you will not give them your date of birth. Just
my motivation, sorry to cut you off, but my motivation for doing this isn't. I got 2 children, and I brought them into this world, and I can't leave this shitty life in their future. Do this.
Same here. It's just what you want forever. Like I'm reading to you right here off the Edward Mandel. This ain't about filing UCC ones. This isn't about using anything that they created. About recreating everything correctly, like you said, with the babies being born in a healthy hive, and or you not like not being able to feed the homeless, watching an old man be arrested for feeding the homeless. Do you like what the cops in Canada tell a man he can't mow the 80-year-old woman's house so they can fine her and try to take her home? I mean, in Canada.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Well, they want the house. And the old lady probably doesn't have the money to pay, and they know when she's going to die any day, and they're after all the property, the assets. That's what this whole Federal Reserve plan has been about. Inflation and deflation, and you will wake up homeless.
They tried to administer her estate, or they were administering her estate, and he was interfering with that.
They were trying to have that debt to lien it once over a lawn, over grass.
Where I've had success is I quit showing up to the hearings. I appeared by mail through my instruments, power of attorney, and I sent notice to the court. And they had sent me a notice that the judge had taken custody away from me and given it to Max 100% because I refused the court orders.
Just to let you know,
to go here and pick them. But I sent the power of attorney, so they restored 50-50 week on, week off.
Yeah. Well, just to let you know, the UK's in the house now. Nice. I told you, man, I've got a lot of reach, and I have built quite a network on Facebook, and I've got connections UK, Scotland, Canada. Canada picked up on the, this isn't going away. That's what I keep trying to tell. Are in these positions that are taking advantage of people through this trickery of the date discrepancy of getting people to mistakenly volunteer their date of that wasn't created the day they were born. It's not going away. Even if they kill Doug, it's not going away.
You got to thank the men in the UK that have been going sacrificing their freedoms to cut down all those fucked up camera systems over there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Look, we
UK. Americans don't like you guys do. You guys don't have any guns anymore.
I know, and they don't even have guns. That's exactly right. You know, because man, that's where I'm at. You fuck with me, we're gonna have a shootout. Because I don't want that.
We've been playing cowboys and Indians for so long that we got the guns, but they've changed it to now it's cowboys and doctors, and they injected all of us. So we didn't retaliate with gunfire because we weren't being fired upon.
Right. Well, it's still a shot.
It's that silent weapons for quiet wars.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Our friend from UK says things are getting interesting. I have to go back to the beginning and listen to this. Get this up on the website, man, as quickly as your webmaster can, because that's the only way this thing will possibly be preserved.
I've been selling some of my stuff because I blew my back out, and I've been keeping my tools because everybody's saying I got to go back to work, but I can't. So I finally started selling off some of the tools and got $250 to get the webmaster to do some stuff. So that's how I've been making the money right now, selling stuff.
All right. Well, hopefully people are going to listen to this and go, man, we need to support this information. It's not about support us, it's about support the information. At the same time, we've had our break speed off. I've lost mama. I'm taking care of 2 little ones 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. That's what I do, because I'm not giving them over to strangers. I'm not going to risk them being swept away by pedophiles or kidnapped by some kind of controversy created so they could steal my beautiful daughter, because she's absolutely gorgeous. And as soon as they lay eyes on her, someone's going to want her. And these birth certificates, cops
will come and point guns at me and shoot me if I try to defend my child from a doctor trying to inject them with something.
Back to Bobby Kennedy. Why haven't you removed vaccine requirements on SNAP program? That's pretty position. Yes, take it off. Stop it.
That's not being applied in California.
It's implied on it's implied on their deal. It's one of the deals. You have to have them have their vaccines up to date and blah 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 blah. A contract at the end of the day, an offer, but people don't realize it's an offer. Right. It's an offer of a benefit that you don't want. And in the end of the day, really anybody, like right now, man, they cut me off from SNAP, cut off the incontinence supplies for my son. And I'm sending letters out, and I'm done dealing SNAP. I'm done dealing with DCF. I'm done dealing with those people. After I pointed out that you're using a variation of a legal name in violation of Federal Regulations 37.3, you're not allowed to.
People help you if you get the money. You got kids.
I'm sorry.
Some of the churches will help you with money if you're kids.
Man, unfortunately, they're all federally backed programs, and Trump supposedly just took away the funding from the food banks because I think like wiping out the chickens and wiping out all the. I'm sorry. Big time, and that's what we're going to be facing next. Because look, the few people that do help me, I would literally be sitting here with 2 babies going hungry. We're low on food now, and for him especially, because he only wants to eat fruits, vegetables. Yeah. That's all, man, and that's all he wants. He wants raspberries, blueberries. I'm sorry?
You own property where you can grow stuff?
No, I wouldn't be able to grow it fast enough. That's yeah. I mean, yes, and things have gotten chaotic here, and the guy that's letting me, where I'm staying at, knows what the problem is, but he's really not privy to this much information. And I haven't gotten him to settle down and stop listening to Before It's News. I said, they're never going to tell you the things that I can share with you, man. And he knows it. He knows it. But, you know, he's always screaming, it's the Jews. They just want to kill us all. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of. You know, it's not all of them. There are ones out there that don't stand behind the bad people professing they're Jews.
We're not identifying the Ashkenazi, and they're identified by the Star Molech, which is the Israeli flag.
Well, no, he knows this too, but I think, you know, they're using this new technology, man, and they're able to and he's hanging out. One of the guys he's got working for him was in prison when they were doing the COVID thing, and the guys in the prison, dude, they took every booster, they took every shot. They were being fear-mongered like nobody because they didn't have any other information. The guys that were in prison got doped up so bad off of the vaccines that it's mind-blowing. And then they're out here shedding. And he's got this guy working for him, riding around with a truck with him. He's shedding this spike protein. And he's just day in and day out sweating and working with this guy. And now he's become very aggressive, very chaotically aggressive, making big deals over things that are you know, why are you making a big deal? And very hostile. And now we're hearing that that's what this is doing to people. It's starting to come out and make people very violent and hostile.
I gotta go, Ken, because it's
no worries, man. It's good to tie this up, man. Great talk. Always is with you. We'll pick this up another time. Tell everybody bye and mention the website one more time.
Bye. Citizensactionnetwork.info. Check out the mission statement, and anybody that's interested in communicating and adding to it, get a hold of me.
All right, Mike. You have a good one.
Thanks, Ken. Have a good night.
All right, everybody. That's going to wrap it up, man. This is 2 hours and 20 minutes of absolute powerhouse information that should be shared everywhere. If you want to support me, I will throw a Cash App up that you can send a little support and a little love my way. I will not use coffee breaks or use any of their YouTube's idea of support that they want to take a cut of. And I'm not sure how long this video is going to stay up. So we're going to try to get this thing backed up. And everybody have a great day, great morning, great evening, depending on where you're at and when you listen to this. Peace out, people.